सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। In this session of webinar, we are going to look into the traits or the lakshanas of a truly fit student of the Vedanta of self-knowledge. Taking the example of Nachiketa, the young hero of Kathopanishad, which is found in the Yajurveda. To be more precise, in the Krishna Yajurveda. Under the general theme of our Upanishad heroes, we plan to look at the personalities of very many other characters that appear in the literature of the Upanishads. We have, for example, even a brilliant, presumably young lady, Gargi, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and a relatively older lady, the first wife of Yajnavalkya, Maitreyi, is another great personality to be considered. Yajnavalkya himself, about whom Mr. Devudu in Karnataka wrote a whole novel called Mahadarshana. This Yajnavalkya needs to be studied, and we need to appreciate the qualities, the virtues of these great Vedanta masters or students is practically a way to understand where we stand. It's not a comparison to either feel egoistic or feel low. It is just like using a mirror. We hold a mirror so that we know who we are, what we are. Let's return for the present in this session to Nachiketa, the young boy. He is probably 14 years old, or maybe 12, maybe 15, around that figure. And everybody knows his story. He was the son of a Karmakandi, and this father, who is called Gautama at times, or Vajashravaha in the beginning of the Kathopanishad. The Upanishad begins with the line, Ushan havai Vajashravasaha sarva vedasam dadau. Wanting to perform a great yajna, this father, Vajashravaha, gave away sarva vedasam, all his wealth. But that is with a bit of a taunt, really. Even though, as per the requirement of that sacrifice, he had to give everything, he actually was calculative. The father had a calculative mind, and right at the beginning of this Upanishadic story, we have the mention that the father gave away such cows in gift, in dhanam, which were really useless. Pitodakaha, Jagdatranaha, Dugda Dohaha, Nirindriyaha. These are the words used. They have drunk water for the last time. They have eaten grass for the last time. They have given the last drop of milk, and that's about it. There's nothing more you may expect from them. And that kind of cows he gives. Now we plunge into one great quality that we find in Nachiketa. As soon as the young boy who was sitting there watching the whole thing notices that my father is giving utterly unworthy cows as gifts, Tagamha Kumaragam Santam Shraddha Avivesha. There is a line. Shraddha, that is hard to translate really, But let's take the word faith. A faith or a sense of what scriptures say has to be true. It is much more than a mere belief or mere sense. It is a great hidden intuitive faculty. Those who have Shraddha are able to go very far. It is not blind belief, and generally it's very difficult for any of us to distinguish between blind belief and true Shraddha. If somebody expresses some belief in tradition, in God, in Guru, in scriptures, you and I cannot so easily figure out whether she or he is blindly following the Guru or the Shastra, or she or he has an intuitive grasp, and that is beyond reason actually. Alright, Shraddha, as you know, is one of the 6 qualities in what they call Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhana. Incidentally, these 6 qualities which together form what is called Shatka Sampatti. Shat means 6. The wealth, the inner wealth of 6 qualities. This is itself based on a Brihadaranyaka Shruti. There is a mantra in the Brihadaranyaka which talks about these 6 qualities. So, Nachiketa was overpowered by Shraddha. He was not somebody to just turn his face away. He was not somebody to close his eyes, shut his eyes to what was going on. So we find that Shraddha is one of the basic traits, basic requirements for us to take the leap. We are generally educated in modern system to go so much by logic, by reason, by adding 2 and 2 together. However, life is much more than acquiring some functional skills. Leave alone spirituality, even to have meaningful human relationships, we need to have faith. We need to have Vishwasa in each other. We need to have certain broad-mindedness. We need to be free from judgmentalism. Shraddha Avivesha. And that is how Nachiketa goes to the father and asks a question rather indirectly. For after all, he has certain respect and certain fear, as we use the 2 words, Bhaya Bhakti. He has Bhaya Bhakti towards his father, and therefore, rather than saying, Dad, why are you giving these useless cows? Rather, he says, Pita, O father, to whom will you give me? To whom will you give me? This is to provoke thought. He didn't literally mean that the father had to give him away in gift, in dan. However, to just stir up. And the father probably was in such a bad mood. Somehow he wanted to finish off this ritual, this yajna, this sacrifice. Somehow he wanted to be done with it. That is how those without Shraddha go about any spiritual practice. Even as they sit for a japa, they also keep a clock and continuously see the clock. Oh, how much have I done? Or even as they use a japamala, as they say, once in a while they see how come the Meru has not come yet. You know, a japamala typically having 108 beads. When you complete 108, you meet with a special bead that is called Meru. And without even opening your eyes, you know, I have completed 108. Then you turn around and go back again saying, let's say, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Another 108, again Meru, again come back. Now those who do not have Shraddha, They have hardly done 30 or 40. They look, what happened? Meru, did I skip the Meru? They open the eyes and check. So Vajashravas, the father, lacked faith, in sharp contrast to Nachiketa, who had such great faith. And when second and third time Nachiketa asks the father, to whom will you give me as gift? It gets on the nerve of the father, and in an angry burst, the father says to the son, those words are not mentioned in the Upanishad, but they are implied. We need to understand that some words were said, not recorded in the text of the Upanishad. He must have said, you coming in between and again disturbing me and asking that silly question, to whom will I give you? I guess I'll give you to Yama. It is an angry expression. I will give you to Yama. Yama is Lord of Death. And that is how to ensure that, especially on such an auspicious occasion of a great Vedic sacrifice, my father should not be a liar. What he said should not turn out to be a lie. To ensure that, the son proceeds to Yama. In the story itself, we find, if we give a bit of an attention, we find more and more qualities of a truly competent, truly deserving student of the Upanishadic wisdom. In his commentaries, Adi Shankara especially begins, in several of his commentaries, he says, let one point be made very clear. This Upanishadic wisdom is only for those who have virakti. Viraktasya eva Upanishatsu or Atmajnane Adhikaraha. But today in Kali Yuga, at this time in the new millennium, you find Tom, Dick and Harry studying Upanishads and giving lectures also. Sita, Gita, Nita, everybody is studying Upanishads. So what about that requirement, Adhikara? Adhikara here is fitness. Adhikara is not power or authority. In this context, Adhikara means fitness. So when everybody is going about studying, teaching and doing things about Vedanta, well, it is easy to see. That is the reason why 999.99%, 999 out of 1000 or 99.999% of the so-called Vedanta students or even teachers are nowhere near that emancipation, that liberation, that transcendence, that going beyond doership, enjoyership, going beyond space and time. Hardly anyone in this world, a small minority. That is how Nachiketa is made. So he goes and waits for Yama, and 3 nights he stands there without taking any food. Though the staff of Yama offer to him, he says, no, I would first meet Lord Yama, then I would accept any of these. That is another quality called Kshanti. Kshanti, which is a synonym of Kshama, we must know is whether it is Kshanti, 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 and Kshama, Kshama. Both these words can mean at other places forgiveness. Kshama, we ask somebody for Kshama, please forgive me. Or we pardon somebody. The word Kshama is definitely used. And Kshanti is a synonym. But in this context of qualifications of a student, Kshanti is the ability to put up with hardships, the ability to bear with hard times. He goes, and he probably had thought he would meet Yama right away. But he finds one day and one night are over, second day and second night are over, third day and third night are over, and Yama has not turned up. He had gone out of town. So Nachiketa shows a lot of kshama. I'm not saying he forgives Yama. The question of forgiveness doesn't come here. It is a quality of bearing with the delay, not to turn negative, not to allow negative emotions to rise in his bosom. He says, it's all right. It's all right. Things will be all right. Today I shared a statement by Ma Sharada, the holy consort of Sri Ramakrishna, on my blog spot. For when I came across that, I said, wow, how nice she has said. So one of the statements of Ma Sharada Devi is, difficulties come in life. Difficulties do come in everybody's life. Do not lose heart. Even as you stay firm and patient and watch, the difficulties go away like water passes below bridges. That's the illustration she gives in that particular quote. Like water just passes below the bridges. Your difficulties will go. Have some patience. Nachiketa shows that patience. And without his really dwelling on or fantasizing about possible rewards, he does get rewarded richly by Yama. When Yama comes back, Yama says, oh dear boy, I'm sad. I'm sorry you had to wait. And for the 3 nights that you had waited, I give you 3 boons. And imagine, even if you and I are above 40, 50 or 60, we would not have the maturity to ask for self-knowledge right away. You cannot expect that from a young boy so fast. Therefore, his first 2 boons, the first 2 boons that he asked for, were about how his father should get back to a peaceful disposition, how he would like to get the knowledge of a certain ritual which can take people to heaven, such things. Leave them aside. It is in the third boon that Nachiketa thinks of, this is such a rare opportunity and I should not waste the boons for things that come and go. That is where Nachiketa expresses himself first in a rather vague way. If you see the question which he asks as part of the third boon, to begin with, all he says is, some say something remains when one dies. Some others say nothing remains. Please tell me, what is your position with regard to this? So in a hasty reading, you may imagine, does Nachiketa have a doubt about the existence of the soul? Because the words used are, when someone dies, ye yam vichikitsa manushye prete astiti eke nayam astiti cha eke. Prete means when one departs, that is when one dies. Of course, Nachiketa is full of Shraddha in the Vedas, Vedanta. Vedanta is part of Veda. And he was a witness to the Vedic ritual, and the Vedic rituals are all the time talking about a soul that survives the body. Therefore, his question becomes more clear to us when in the second Valli of the first chapter, he rewords his question. Let me say that right away now itself. In the second, otherwise, all the story and all the questioning on the part of Nachiketa are found in the first Valli of the first chapter. Kathopanishad is organized as 2 chapters. First chapter has Valli 1, Valli 2, Valli 3. Second chapter also has Valli 1, Valli 2, Valli 3. Valli means section. Nachiketa's words are practically completed in first Valli itself, except a restatement or a rewording, rephrasing of his question, which is the third boon that he asks for. And that rewording is simply mind-blowing. In the second Valli of first chapter of Kathopanishad, our Nachiketa asks, Anyatra dharmad, anyatra adharmad, anyatra asmat, krita akritat, anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha, yattat pashyasi tadvada. O Lord Yama, if you see something which is untouched by merit and demerit, dharma, adharma, which is untouched by cause and effect, which is untouched by the divisions of time, space not explicitly mentioned but implied. Bhuta is past, Bhavya is future, and Bhavat is present. Something untouched by time and causation. When we look around or when we look within, everything is caused. Our happiness is also caused, and when we are sad, pretty much we know why we are sad. There is a cause. So emotions, thoughts, perceptions, feelings, outlooks, everything is caused. Is there something which is neither caused nor causes anything? So he's not asking just about soul, but about what survives even the so-called conditioned soul, Jivatma. The soul, the word soul is used on two levels. The conditioned soul leaves one body and joins or goes to another body. But then there is the Supreme Self, which is the truth to be realized by us. And that is his question. He is asking about it. That we would call the unconditioned pure awareness, Satchit. What other qualities do we find? Now this excellent question that he asks shows his hunger for the highest knowledge. Jijnasa. If you see Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter, even as the chapter opens within 4 or 5 verses, a small portion begins. To be precise, verse number 7 to 11. In 5 verses, chapter 13, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, Lord Krishna gives to us a bouquet of 20 flowers. What are those flowers? They are values, they are qualities, they are characteristics, or they are the marks of a truly religious person. Someone who is truly ready for rising above samsara. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavan acharyopasanam shaucham स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदाग्रहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि च अनन्ययोगेन भक्तिः अव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् अरतिर्जनसंसदि अध्यात्मज्ञाननित्यत्वम् तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा. If you take the list of 20 qualities of a true seeker of the highest liberating knowledge, and if you see Nachiketa's personality, directly, explicitly, you would see some of them at least evident in the Nachiketa's ways. For example, Indriyartheshu Vairagyam. Vairagya is absence of longing, absence of attachment, absence of dependence. If you eat gulab jamun, if you enjoy some wonderful music, there is nothing wrong about it. But if you so much miss it, if you feel so lost and bored, and if you start looking at life as meaningless, worthless, and horrible, terrible, without some sweets coming your way once in a while, some music, some dance, it's a dependence. In relationship too, if you love your daughter, if you love your son, if you do a lot for your spouse, that doesn't mean you don't have vairagya. But are you bound? Are you so dependent? Without your son, without your daughter, without your spouse, without your some other, suppose you feel you are worthless. My self-worth is zero. I am nobody. I cannot imagine remaining alive. I will go nuts. I will go mad. I will go crazy. In this way, suppose is your honest self-assessment, then definitely you have attachment. Not very easy to recognize really, for the human mind is such. There are bouts of various desires that come to practically everybody. I believe even Sri Ramakrishna once wanted to wear a very, very nice coat, some coat of some kind. And then he asked one of his rich devotees, get me that coat, I want to wear that coat. Now, anybody could imagine what happened to this Mahatma as he become worldly. And that rich devotee gets that coat for Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna wears that and feels very happy. I feel so good in this coat. But within a few minutes, he takes it out and throws and stands upon it. And, he was full of childlike pranks and childlike, behavior. He says, enough of this. So here and there, some bouts might come and go. So neither can we judge others nor can we judge ourselves so easily. But if we pay attention, if we watch, if we look at ourselves without any bias or hasty judgment, over a length of time based on several episodes or situations, circumstances, events, incidents, we can figure out whether we are attached to some particular people, objects, some comfort, some wealth, some eatables, etc. Or we have no such dependence. Nachiketa shows great vairagya. Indriyartheshu vairagyam. We quoted it in the paragraph that we sent to all of you. When Yama, just to test Nachiketa, offers a wide range, a plethora of pleasures and comforts and powers and positions, Nachiketa brushes them aside. And there is a punchline. Tavaiva vahaha tava nritya gite. Vahaha is wonderful vehicles. Today Mercedes and BMW and all those vehicles. And Nritya Gite, fantastic dances, great music. All these they were symbolic. They represent many more things also. There are many more things. When people asked Ramana Maharshi, who is fit for Atmadnana? In Ramana Gita, he gives two criteria. He says, Dehe Nashvarata Buddhi. If in a rather continuous manner, if not continuous, quite frequently at least, you sort of sense that this body is Nashvara. this body is going to perish. Dehe nashwarata buddhi. And the second one he says is Vishayeshu aruchihi brisham. Brisham means strongly distaste. So there is a Vishaya, some sense object, some pleasure, some possession, some prospect of becoming somebody, prospect of becoming famous. Now, those of us who have no vairagya, the very thought of our getting something fills us with so much happiness. Whereas this person understands the fun, they understands the glamour, understands the charm of what he is offered, but this fit candidate, aruchi, silently, without hating that position or power, without hating that person, without hating your wife or husband, children or anybody, silently, quietly, if you realize that, well, I don't have to get overly excited about this. So that is called aruchi, no ruchi. So, tavaiva vahas tava nritya gite. And one other quality, there are many qualities we can see in Nachiketa. He is also full of arjavam. Raju means straight, opposite of vakra. Raju is straight, arjava is straightness. Light travels in a straight line. A snake moves in a curvy manner. So Raju. And the abstract noun of Raju is Arjava. Lord Krishna in the 13th chapter uses the word Arjavam. And Nachiketa is so straightforward. To someone no less than Lord Yama, he says, oh no, I don't want to ask for anything else. Yeah. Like these days people say, to be honest with you, I'm sorry for saying this, but this is what. So with that clause or without that clause, when you say what is in your mind, when you call a spade, that openness, that straightforwardness, that transparency, that not hiding something but coming out straight away is a tremendous great quality he shows. And Yama inside himself is so happy. So hard it is to get a boy like Nachiketa. So later on, Yama compliments him also. Therefore, let me sum up. Nachiketa, the boy of Kathopanishad, exhibits practically the sadhana chatushtaya that is described in the Vedanta works. Viveka, to recognize what is nitya, what is anitya, what is lasting and what is ephemeral, and to then seek what is nitya only. That is Viveka. Vairagyam, as Viveka Chudamani would describe, Tadvairagyam jihasaya darshana shravanadibihi brahmadi stamba paryantehi anitye bhogavastuni. To make it short, bhogavastuni with regard to objects of pleasure, jihasa, that is hatum icha, a tendency to rather let go. Rather, I don't need it. So I must quickly clarify, this is not about biological needs, this is about psychological needs. Hunger and thirst are common. So even a very wise person of great Viveka Vairagya also, when he is thirsty, he would desire water. But various positions and powers and even in pleasure, if you let me briefly mention here, there is always a psychological component. It is one thing to go eat ice cream, there is a physical sensation, then there is also typically in all of us a certain psychological component. I am having a good time now. And this store, this restaurant, or this ice cream corner is, very elite. This is in an elite corner of the town, and only some people only can come here, and I am one of them. So there is a certain kick. There is a certain special kick, as we call it. That is the psychological component. Next time you enjoy some pleasure, which whatever it is, try to just notice how much is it sensation, physical sensation, which I am enjoying, and how much is it psychological, which is a matter of beliefs and conditionings and opinions and notions and so on. And absence of that is vairagya. Jihasa bhogavastuni. Shamadama, a certain calmness of mind, a certain spontaneous and natural tendency to keep sense organs under control, or organs of actions also, karmendriyas, dhamma. Uparama, there are a list. And fourth one is in sadhana chatushtaya, mumukshutva, intense desire to gain liberation. Most of us postpone moksha. We say we want moksha, but right now, you see, right now I have these two, but pretty soon I am coming. Right now I have another thing, and once that is done, whatever it is, you know better. Then then I want God only. Then I want moksha only. So God is kept, moksha is kept a bit later, postponed, right? So Nachiketa represents, and I would not comment more. Please go through the some 25 or so many verses. Let me see how many are there. You have actually 29. The first Valli has 29 mantras in Kathopanishad. If you don't know any Sanskrit, no problem. Read the English translation of the 29 mantras slowly, and then with a receptive mind, the story, the description, the narration itself will show you facets of Nachiketa's wonderful personality, which brought to him the highest self-knowledge. Let me pause here and open the floor for questions and answers. Harihi Om, Om Namah Shivaya. Let's see if there are some raised hands. Oh, there is one raised hand. Krishnan Gopal. I respond to him and unmute his microphone.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari
Pranam
Om.
Swamiji.
Yes, Gopal.
What was Yama's answer to the third question?
Oh, yes. Yama's answer goes in steps, like a cascade. First he says, he gets excited. He says, oh dear boy, what you are asking for is what rishis do tapas for, what sadhaks observe brahmacharya for. That is what all the Vedas praise, you see, and so on. But then he says, his succinct and shortest answer is, I tell you, bravi me, I'm telling you, my dear boy, what's it? Om. He says, that is Om. But then Om is a mystic sound. Om is a symbol. Om is something, the significance of which all cannot appreciate. But Yama's immediate answer, in fact, it is in the very next mantra, after the mantra where Nachiketa asked that question, Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat, I quoted. The very next mantra is this mantra where he answers, Bravi me, मैं बोलता हूँ, I am telling you, Om Ityetat. Then again he praises O, but then he gives ample evidence, ample elaboration. Of course, I say ample for when we go by a certain school of interpretation, like Adi Shankara's interpretation, everything seems to fall in place perfectly. And there are other schools where the meaning is derived a little differently. Okay, so to answer briefly the question that you have asked, Lord Yama makes it very clear that that is in one's own heart. Adhyatma yoga digamena, he uses certain word. And another phrase he uses, that is something which is beyond elation and depression. Harsha shokau jahati. And he says it is tinier than the tiniest. Anoraniyan and Mahato Mahiyan. Now, Upanishadic language employs these apparent contradictions, smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest, and so on. That is where we take help of commentators like Adi Shankara, who then show that it is a reference, it's a pointer to the pure awareness principle. In awareness, the smallest also is appreciated, the biggest also is understood. So there are many mantras which point to the Atma Tattva, Brahma Tattva, as today we have in the Vedanta a certain description and pointers to Atma. To give you one more example of Kathopanishad's answer, it is here that there is the famous mantra which gets echoed in Bhagavad Gita. Ajayate mriyate va vipaschit. This truth that you are asking about has no birth, no death, and it is in your own heart. Therefore, the answer is, Nachiketa, that truth is your own true nature, and you really have no death. You have no birth. You have no limitation. You have no growth or decay. And all this is said in various mantras. You can put them together, and that makes the body of teachings pointing to the purest self-knowledge, which we believe someone like Ramana Maharshi, someone like Nisargadatta Maharaj abided by. They were enlightened, they stayed by. Then there was on other hand, okay, Chris Chilupuri. Yes.
Hari Om Swamiji. Just could you
Yeah,
talk to us a little bit more? Could you tell us a little bit more on how to convert an affinity for Vedanta into these qualities which you described this morning?
well, what you mean is someone has an affinity to Vedanta, but the person may not have these qualities. That's what you mean, no? How to get the qualities. Because it's not a matter of converting affinity into qualities. The affinity is interest in the knowledge. It is enriching. I only have interest, but I'm not equipped. It's like I have a cycle, but it's not running. How to make it run? Anyway, let's not go into the language part of it. Are you asking how to get these qualities?
Just your comment, your perspective on how to cultivate them. Yes.
That's right. That's right. It is on lower stages. Let's yeah, as you rightly said, it's my perspective. On lower stages, where we find ourselves a lot of times, it is the gentle exercise of will. Will is sankalpa. Will is the self-persuasion to do the right thing. So in small and big situations, like Eknath Ishwaran would say, small victories lead to big victories. On the Facebook, one of the Facebook pages which is connected to me, somebody asked me this question, how to develop sankalpa? And I gave him you may get amused by this answer. I quoted Ishwaran, small victories lead to big victories. And then I said, take a challenge every night at 10 p.m. just for 10 minutes, leaving aside everything, you will read newspaper. Try that for 1 week. Now, I didn't say do japa, I didn't say do meditation. 10 p.m. precisely, drop everything and read newspaper for 5 or 10 minutes. You will find it so difficult. Generally, those who have very poor, very chanchal man, who are so restless, they can't do anything. They find their brain is so mechanical, it just goes by impulses. Okay, now on this level, where we find we are so enslaved by so many impulses, we just put aside what is important and go after some fancy. Then gentle exercise of will by trying to do a few things, as you have a saying, make a plan, go by the plan. Many of us make a plan and then we don't know where we kept that plan on the sheet of paper. That itself is missing. On the higher level, I would say two things. One is, by and large, as you find, you don't have so much of chanchala, that is unsteady mind. The mind is reasonably steady. Or even in a single day, there are times, half an hour here or half an hour there, where you are actually very, very stable. Then don't use will. Then it is attentive contemplation on the scriptural statement. So that itself will bring more and more, like to appreciate, for example, teaching of Upanishads will bring you closer and closer to these qualities. Because there is a very beautiful, intimate relation between the means and the end. So to reflect on the end enriches you in the means, and as you are enriched in the means, the end becomes clearer and clearer. So, Krish, to summarize my answer, there is a plane where there is exercise of will and choosing the right over the wrong. And then there is the higher plane where it is to stay in steady appreciation of higher teachings. That makes you better Viveki, better Virakta, better Mumukshu, better Shanta Danta, and all those things. So let me see if there is a third hand raised. Oh. I don't see any hand here. Yeah, there seems to be no other hand. Is there any text? Let me see, questions. Oh. A message comes saying, you are muted by an organizer. Please rectify it. When was this asked? Oh. One hand I see now. Manmohan Tejawar. Yes. Yeah.
This is Manmohan. Thank you very much for the lecture. I enjoyed it.
Welcome.
Just one question. Here, and there are several other instances, but namely, I will restrict this. Today's lecture, for example, Yama teaching self-knowledge to Nachiketa, as against Mundaka Upanishad.
Correct.
Where Narada asking the question, a knowledge that once we acquire it, there is nothing else to be known. Both are, and that led to that Mahavakya called Tattvamasi in that
Chandogya. Chandogya.
Upanishad. Are they both the same concept explained a little bit differently? Is there a nuance to each other, or are they slightly different that I don't? They are all referring to the inner God within all of us.
Yeah.
So that is the permanent,
Yeah.
and that alone survives, and that was there before you arrived here.
Yeah.
So it is you can say that in science they say Big Bang is the energy that created the entire universe. So that is the energy source we come from. And they say in Western world, you are all made of star materials. And ultimately, that's what we become, even literally. Like after a body perishes, you become sodium, potassium, and so on. The mineral elements existed before. So I think it is the same concept then. In both the instances, it is the enabling force to all the living beings.
Correct.
Okay.
So Tattvamasi puts it very explicitly, you are that. Whereas, as I said to the first question in this session by Gopal Krishnan, in the Kathopanishad, Yama doesn't openly say you are that, but he says it is in your own heart. So we interpret it that to say it's in your own heart is it's your own inner being, you yourself are that. So there are two different ways of expressing the same truth. Yeah.
So they all come back to the same concept.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So if there is no other question, let us. Yes. Let's conclude for now, and we meet again.